My name is Dan Cromlin. Maybe detail, but in the movie you showed, one of the last views there was on precautionary principle. And when I see the word precautionary principle, I mean, even in my postprandial dip, I all of a sudden get a lot of adrenaline. Why is that there? I hate that word, in particular in the context of medicines, because it's never the risk alone, it's always the benefit-risk ratio or relationship that counts. And precautionary, there's long definitions of precautionary principle, but for me it is safety first.
Well, I think we can't avoid that precautionary use is used by, I would say, health authorities. And this is part, I think, of discussion when we're sitting around the table with other people. And this comes into the discussion. And it is part of the discussion when we're sitting around the table.
But in political terms, precautionary principle has a pretty strict sort of meaning, which is nothing new. Go to the EU discussions. So in our field, I would hope that the term precautionary principle is not introduced as such. It's always looked at the benefit-risk relationship.
We have the EMEA around the table. They're part of the consortium, and they validated the terms. So, we had that discussion around the table. So I'll bring it back to the consortium. I will.
If it's coming from the EMEA, I will also talk to them, because I think it's very unwise to sort of introduce this word in our field.
Okay, I'll bring it back to them. Okay.
Markus Pastek, International Prevention Research Institute from France. I have one question concerning the accreditation. Obviously, you're planning to negotiate between the 7 involved universities that courses and programs are accredited. Are you planning, having reached that, and thereby you create a kind of a gold standard, are you planning to try and negotiate accreditation for other universities in the involved countries, or even go into those countries which are not part of your consortium yet?
That is, I think, a good question for all the education and training programs. I think that we're starting with the ones as part of the as part of the education and training, because they're part of the consortium. What we're aiming is to go further after, but that is a starting point for us. If we can go further, of course we will, and I can, give the mic to all the others of my partners. I think it's the first step we're starting to do, because that's the easiest way to start with. And I think after we were trying to go further on, yeah. Do you want to add something? Maybe Theo, Fritz, or Mike?
I think just as a general comment, you'll see with all the education and training activities, there is the initial focus, which is for practical reasons, I think, as Deborah explained, but the intention to try and make sure that that is available as broadly as possible across the EU. In some cases, that might be access to some of the distance learning materials that Deborah was referring to. In other cases, it might be setting up centres in some of those countries. And if you look at the various education training activities, you'll see all those models are actually being addressed. But primarily we believe that you need the courses focusing on their content and getting started, an infrastructure that allows you to have access across all of Europe, and then extension of the various courses as they work through their initial phase.